Hello, welcome to Skye Sweaty Record Review, episode 50. It's the only new music review show hosted by a French professor immediately after getting off an elliptical. Now, this is a little bit different. It's the end of the year, there's not much new music out there. And recently I recorded an episode in which I gave the best songs that I had reviewed. So I put it in like this little joke as this kind of a mixtape, on a cassette. And I tried to boil down the best 45 minutes of music of the year. And that went pretty well, and I had some good response to that. But really what I wanted to do now, and that is I want to fill up the other side of the cassette, the side B. And with that, I want to fill it entirely with the music of the artist of the year. The artist of the year is, as it always is, Kanye West. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what do I mean by artist, and I really want to talk about Kanye. I'm a French professor, so I have to teach language, and I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I talk about Star Wars and pop culture. I'm a big cinephile, and I talk about movies. I talk about all these things. Probably the thing I talk about most in my entire life is Kanye West and why he's such a great artist. But I think it's important to say, and I'm going to explain why. So very soon, I'm going to fill out this mixtape, and at the very end, don't worry everybody, I'll address Trump. Ooh! Is Kanye a Trump fan? Oh! Banish! Well, I'll talk all about that. But that'll be at the end. You have to wait, because that's the least interesting thing about Kanye in 2018. Okay. Why is Kanye the artist of 2018? First of all, I want to define the term artist. What is Kanye not? Okay, first of all, Kanye is not a musician. Not really. He doesn't really know how to make music. I think if you put a piano in front of him, he'd just play a lot of octaves and fifths. He doesn't really have that much sense of melody. He's not a singer, even though he ushered in the modern era of hip-hop with its integration of singing, half-singing, and auto-tune. Still, he's not really a singer. He's not even really a rapper. His raps are okay. They're kind of mediocre. So this makes sense. People listen to Kanye and go, "What's the deal? He doesn't do anything." The thing is, he's an artist. What that means is it's not the things he does, the way that he does them. He's not a virtuoso in anything. It's his ability to transmit his creative vision in many different forms. I would actually go as far as to say that Kanye is the only living great artist in the world. Now, there are many artists, but by this I mean a great artist. And I think there's only ever 2 or 3 great artists living at any time anyway. This is how I define a great artist. It is an artist who is constantly evolving and innovating, whose creations influence the culture. Okay? So it's not just enough to do one thing and have everyone change for a couple minutes. It's this constant recreation. And essential to this is the belief that the artistic vision is more important than the audience. Your public is secondary to your vision. That is what Kanye is, and that is what very few artists are. The ways that he has changed the culture, the ways that he has changed music are so numerous, I would actually have trouble describing it here. This isn't a real video essay. I'm not going to write a script and script it all out. But I mean, just first of all, just the way he came out and the way that he influenced the way samples were used completely changed hip-hop. Then the way that he came out and started rapping as a producer changed the way producers were treated in hip-hop. The entire album, 808 and Heartbreak, there's many videos about it. Look it up on YouTube. They've said it better than I can. Well, they said it before I could. So I get arrogant when I talk about Kanye. I get inspired. 808 and Heartbreak laid the template for everything that's happened in hip-hop since. Everything. Everything that's happened since is all because of that one album. The fact that he raps about himself and depression. I've been talking about this on the podcast. On the YouTube channel for the last 6 months. Rappers rap about themselves and their internal pain and their struggle and their division. It's becoming like Hank Williams was the same way. He'd always sing about sinning and then he'd talk about wishing that God would forgive him and then he'd sing about sinning some more. Kanye ushered that in as well, talking about psychological problems. Even just crazy. The other day I was at Uniqlo. And I was looking at clothes, and there's this big, ugly trench coat thing. I was like, what does that make me think of? Well, that's right. That was actually Kanye's fashion. It was big, ugly, green trench coats. like derelict from Zoolander, like that's in fashion now because of Kanye. The huge rips in jeans, he brought that out to Jimmy Kimmel Live like 4 years ago. I remember seeing it being like, ew, why is he dressed like that? And now like all my students are dressed like that. So he is capable of doing that in multiple genres, using his artistic vision to change the culture and constantly innovating. You know that he's doing that because every time he releases a new album, everybody goes, oh no, he lost it. No, it's no good anymore. He was good before. Okay? Daft Punk does the same thing. Where you go, oh, they were great, but now they changed and they did something else. And I don't know if this, oh, wait a minute, this is actually great. Musically, I would say the closest analog to him would be like Dylan. You know? Because Dylan showed up and he changed the world. And then he changed what he was doing. And everyone's like, I liked him more when he was acoustic. And he's like, all right, fine. And he went electric. And then after that, he like made a country album. I feel like when I'm defending Kanye, half the time I'm trying to defend Nashville Skyline. I'm trying to talk to some old crusty, like 30-year-old who remembers being at the Hungry Eye watching Dylan play Blowin' in the Wind and trying to explain to him or her that this is great, this is vital, this is what keeps artists alive. This is what keeps art alive. Or maybe James Brown. Kanye is also very similar to James Brown, I would say, in the way James Brown basically revolutionized soul, and then invented funk, and then sort of accidentally was the architect of most hip-hop. I think there's kind of a similar parallel there with him. So that's what an artist is, and that's the context that I'm trying to see Kanye in. He compares himself to Picasso, and I don't think that's crazy. I don't think it's crazy at all to compare himself to Picasso. Picasso constantly changed himself, and when he changed himself, everybody said, I like the old stuff, and then they immediately changed to do what he was doing. But perhaps the best metaphor I could make, the best comparison I could make, is the person I talk about almost as much as I talk about Kanye, and that's George Lucas. Of all the directors, George Lucas is one of the most influential and controversial. The thing about George Lucas is he is, above all, an artist. When he came out with episodes 1, 2, and 3, everybody hated it. They were mad. There were plenty of flaws in them, I admit, although I still think they're excellent movies. But very few people actually understood the importance of what he was doing. He was making an independent movie. 90 cents out of every dollar that each one of those movies made went to him because he controlled everything. It was his vision. The idea of Jar Jar Binks was a bad idea in many ways. The idea of creating an entirely digital character, that was him. Every time you've seen that in any movie since, it's because of Jar Jar goddamn Binks. It was his vision that put that idea out there. There's so many things in those movies that changed the way movies were made. And he didn't care. He didn't care what his audience thought, because he is an artist making his vision, not what the audience wants. So George Lucas sold his art. He sold his property for $4 billion. And now Disney is making Star Wars, and everybody's happy again. And oh, it's just like I felt when I was a kid. Okay, great. I love the new Star Wars movies too. They're fun. They're great. But they're not really art. They're really for the people who are consuming it. The consumer has become more important than the creator. And if you follow the 21st century, the 20th century, we've been heading towards this for a long time. The consumer is more important than the creator. It's about where the money goes. That's what matters, not the artistic vision. To forsake Kanye is actually to forsake George Lucas, is to forsake artists themselves. Now listen, I understand the complaints. I wish episodes 1, 2, and 3 were as good as episode 4, as Star Wars. And certainly, I don't think what Kanye has released in the last 3 years is as good as what he released the first 15 years. But he's constantly creating something new. And we need, I believe, to cherish it and acknowledge it. So in 10 years, in 2028, when we look back at 2018, people are going to say Kanye was the most important artist that year. I'm positive. If I'm wrong, I'll eat my hat, okay? I'm still doing the show. I will still be doing it in 2028. You tell me, was I wrong about Kanye in 2018? He can't just sell Kanye for $4 billion. He's always going to be him. He's stuck with this. I don't think he's a good person. Like, I don't think he's a nice person. I don't think I'd want to spend 5 minutes with him. The last concert I went to was terrible. I left after like half an hour. He was a disgrace. He was so bad. He's not perfect. He's not an angel. He's not an infallible genius. But he is capable of doing what very few other artists are doing, which is being a true great artist on a global scale. So, let's get back to the mixtape. Now I've spent 10 minutes talking about why Kanye is a great artist. Let's talk about the art that he actually made. I've become a fan since I started making the show. I watch other music YouTube channels, and the biggest one is the Anthony Fantano The Needle Drop Show. And it's very good, very well done, very well produced. He does a lot of really good things. And he sort of mentioned in passing that it wasn't a very good year for Kanye. And I think he's probably right. On Kanye's standards, when you consider that basically every album he's ever released has completely changed the zeitgeist and the flavor of culture for the next decade, this year maybe seems like an off year. But I'm not sure it is. You see, Kanye released 5 EPs this year, one after the other, just 5 in a row. And certainly, there is one album's worth of good music on there. He also released a couple singles, which I'll get to at the end. He is ridiculously prolific. And what's interesting is maybe actually in some ways he's becoming a little bit like Warhol too, in the way that he's like, it's not clear what he's doing. I mean, he released these 5 albums and he's co-producer on some of them and he sings on some of them and he raps on some of them, but it's not clear what he's doing. What he did was he got a commune, okay? He basically just rented an entire like ranch in Wyoming where I went to cowboy camp. Long story. He rented a ranch in Wyoming and brought artists to him. And he created essentially an incubator. He created the factory like Warhol did, you know, like a place where artists could get together and just create and be away from the distractions. And so I don't know everything I'm going to be talking about here, all 45 minutes here. I don't know if Kanye did none of it, if he was just sleeping on the couch while people who he hired came in and did it, or if he did it himself. I would fundamentally say it doesn't really matter. Because what really matters is this artistic production that he made. Now, first of all, this reliance on EPs, I think, is going to be shifting the culture as well. I think in the future, everyone's just going to be releasing EPs because everything is becoming streaming. He already, with his last album, introduced the idea that you could go back and change your album, just because why not? If it's streaming, you can change it, right? Very George Lucas in that way. But I think that the way that he did this is going to be copied in the future. And of these 5 albums, it's a perfect example of what makes him so interesting. He has his solo album, Ye, which is a perfect example of why he is the creator, I believe, of the Is It genre. Is it hip-hop? Is it rap? There's a few songs on there I don't like really at all that are basically like 70s soul songs. It's like El DeBarge. And like, what is it? I mean, he's a rapper, but is this rap? He has an old school rap album with Nas. A newer rap album with Pusha-T. He has like a soul record with Tiana Taylor, which is like almost like an old, I don't know, Aaliyah album. And then he has Kid See Ghost, which is probably my favorite album of the year, with Kid Cudi. So what I've done is I've written on here Kanye 2018 best. And I'm going to select the best 45 minutes from Kanye this year. I'm going to put up the playlist on Spotify, and I just challenge you to listen to it. Listen to it with an open mind, understanding what this artist has managed to do. So the first track is Ghost Town. And Ghost Town is off of the album Ye. But what's interesting is Ghost Town was immediately followed by Ghost Town 2. And what you find with this, Ghost Town 2, that's actually on Kid See Ghost, which is on his album with Kid Cudi, is these both go together, and they form a kind of unity. And you start to understand that taken together, these 5 albums, at least Kanye's presence on them, present a unified theme. He's rapping about freedom. Freedom from other people's expectations, freedom from his own demons, and ultimately it seems as though a lack of freedom. He feels like he's still a slave. I actually really think he's probably hooked on fentanyl or something. He seems like he's really out of it. I legitimately worry for his health. But in these songs, there's this theme of like being lifted out. I mean, the first song, Ghost Town, it starts off with a beautiful old gospel song about wearing a starry crown. And then it's very modular. It immediately cuts into this really shaky voice singing this song about feeling free and doing what they want. And then another shaky singer comes on and sings the main chorus, which talks about, again, feeling free. And then Kanye comes in with a heavily auto-tuned, upbeat song about feeling free and not risking it all for a pack of fentanyl. And then at the very end, this other shaky singer comes in. He's like Serge Gainsbourg. He just loves shaky singers. And she comes in and she sings this whole verse over and over again with my kid's favorite line, "I put my hand on a stove to see if it will still bleed." It's like, well, it might burn. It doesn't mean it's going to bleed. And the production is just amazing on this. It's everything that a lot of people love about Kanye. Unexpected samples, singing, mixed together. It's not rap, it's not hip-hop. What is it? And then it goes into Ghost Town 2, at least on my mix, which is on Kids See Ghost. And it's the same basic theme. It's very bizarre, self-mocking, like completely far out there song, but it's constantly about this theme of feeling free. On the second one, there's also the appearance of Ty Dolla $ign, who is my favorite guest singer, my least favorite main singer. His solo work is terrible, but it's just great. And in the middle of the song, there's this huge production bravura where he just drops out the sound entirely. And you're like, is something going to happen? And then it comes back up. He does this a fair amount. These are just great songs. Just listen to these two. If I'm wrong, listen, just do that for me, okay? Okay, Sweatpants? Just listen to Ghost Town and Ghost Town Part 2 and tell me it doesn't do anything for you. If it doesn't, that's fine. Maybe Kanye's not for you. But those are the great things. The next track I'm going to put on is If You Know, You Know by Pusha-T. Now, Pusha-T is like this old school rapper who was going to be popular with a group called Clips, and then they kind of broke up. And he's funny. That's his album back there. He's funny because he only raps about crack for the most part. With the exception of the song by Swizz Beatz, which was like my second favorite song of the year last year, Cold Blooded. But he basically only raps about selling crack. And this EP is like, 10 songs about selling crack. But the production is so good, is so brave, is so interesting. He's great because his rapping style is so unbelievably bizarre. Like, he only raps about stuff that's like weird crack terms, so you don't know what any of it means. It's like, yeah, your numbers don't add up. The trapdoor's supposed to be awkward. Oh, do you remember when the tigers come in? Like, it's all this weird crack slang, and I don't really feel the need to understand it. But it's great rap. It's great hip-hop. There's no is-it to it. I mean, it's almost like the way hip-hop used to feel, like kind of dangerous, hardcore, like songs to like not sing to, but to actually like, drive in your car and listen and bob your head. I then followed up with another great rap song called Cops Shot the Kid. Now, as I will get to at the end of this video, Kanye gets a lot of hell for being Republican now, for supporting Trump, which is probably merited to an extent. I'll get to that. But this song is the most clearly written, damning example of Black Lives Matter in pop music. There have been a few Black Lives Matter songs, but none like this. So what he's done on this song is amazing, okay? First of all, it starts off with a sample from Richard Pryor from the 70s, in which Richard Pryor talks about being stopped by the cops and being afraid of being shot for being black. 1970s. He then takes a sample from Slick Rick, from Bedtime Story from Slick Rick. Cop shot the kid, I still hear him scream. That's the primary sample of the entire song. Cop shot the kid, cop shot the kid, cop shot the kid, over and over again. 1980s. He then takes a rapper from the 1990s, Nas, to rap about the experience of being black and being afraid of being shot. So this whole Black Lives Matter hashtag, this feeling that it's a new problem, is completely demolished in this one song. We see 40, 50 years of this issue displayed in 30 seconds of musical production. It's a goddamn masterpiece. I don't know why people aren't talking about it. I get it. Everyone's mad at Kanye. And people don't care about Nas anymore. But they should. An amazingly produced chorus in which they take that sample, cop shot the kid, cop shot the kid, cop, and they match it with a tuned down version of it, cop shot the kid, cop shot the kid, and then they put in these overtones of these really dark strings. So it has this amazing ominous tone. And then Kanye's greatest coup in this entire song, he raps from the perspective of the police. He takes their side. He sympathizes with their experience. This is, I believe, what we need. We need to acknowledge this happens, acknowledge that it's terrible, acknowledge that it's systematic racism, and acknowledge that the people who make these mistakes, who commit these crimes of shooting unarmed people, are human beings. And if we start to understand them as human beings, maybe we can correct their behavior. But hey, that's just what I believe. The next track I'm going to put on, oh my God, he's put on so much great stuff this year, is the song called Feel the Love. Now this is the first track off of Kids See Ghost. So Kids See Ghost, again, is this one he did with Kid Cudi. It's just buy it, just get it, just listen to it. This song's amazing. It's kind of like a hip-hop banger track. That's a needle drop tune. He always used that term. It's a banger. I'm going to steal it from you. Thanks, dude. But it's also got this weird like house style sample, like house music. I can still feel the love, like the way that they do in house music. And so it's got this weird production. And then in the middle, they just had this guy going, almost like Mars Attacks. But like the rhythm gets emphasized by I can still feel the love. Boom, boom. It gets you pumped, it gets you excited. And mixed in with all this is another Pusha-T verse, which is a quite good Pusha-T verse, although perhaps not in the right spot here. We then get to the most typical Kanye song, a track called Yikes. And that's off of Ye. And this is the most simple, traditional Kanye song of all 5 albums. It's a simply well-produced track where he's doing his emo rap. He's talking about how scared of himself he is. He's talking about all the mistakes he's making. He's talking about all these women he's having sex with. He's talking about all of his remorse. And it's really well produced. It's really a catchy song. And then at the end, he just goes crazy. And he starts talking about how being bipolar is this superpower. I'm a superpower! Ah! And he's screaming. He's letting you see. And there's a kind of tongue-in-cheek aspect to the way that he raps like this, that he lets you into his insanity. On the cover of the album, Ye, is I hate being bipolar, it's awesome. And that's kind of a joke, but I really think, again, in the future, people will look back at Kanye's output, and hopefully he's going to get better, as some of the best, most clearly illustrated expression of what it is to suffer from bipolar disease. I mean, Kurt Cobain didn't leave us an extensive depiction of depression before he killed himself, right? He didn't explain it for like 7 albums. Kanye lets you know exactly how he feels. He lets you in to the psychological reality. And this is what happens. People listen to the manic part and they go, oh, I don't like that. Oh, he's manic. He thinks he's so great. And then the depressive part comes in and they're like, oh yeah, well, that's what you get, pal, for being such a jerk. They don't understand he's actually presenting his illness to the world as a way for us to understand. Yeah, he's doing what any great artist would do. And we're sitting there judging him for being manic. Damn it. Nashville Skyline. All right. The next track I'm going to put on there for a mix, I'm going to lighten it up a little bit with the song Hurry by Tiana Taylor. So this is a really nice R&B song. So he just has her. She's like some young, ridiculously attractive singer who's, again, in that kind of Aaliyah mold. She can sing very well. And it's kind of a sexy song, a sex song, a little bit unpleasant. I hate it when Kanye raps about sex. It's really gross. But the production is a Sly and the Family Stone sample, and it's just really gritty. It's got this atmosphere to it. Kanye can really set grittiness. It's almost like the Yeezus album, where you just get this super gritty feeling, and you feel like maybe they just forgot some step of production to make it more clean. And then at the very end, he just goes, no fade outs, and the track ends. And I think that might be something else he's messing around with. I then put on another Pusha-T song, Hard Piano. This is the ability to make Rick Ross interesting, because Rick Ross is like this fake coke dealer as well. But the way the song gets put together with a very sort of nice chorus talking about like laundering drugs in Dominican Republic, and the sample itself is a very interesting hard piano sample, which is why it's called Hard Piano. It's just another good hip hop song. I'm gonna keep going. I'm going back to Tiana with A Rose in Harlem, and that's another one of these great produced tracks in which Kanye is allowing us to remember the way that he used to produce, of these weird old school samples, just like really weird where do you find them samples, and putting them together. This actually has kind of a Lauryn Hill vibe to it. If you like Lauryn Hill, and how can you not, I would suggest finding this song and listening to it. It's quite nice. It's a song about betrayal, which is a little bit boring, but there you go. The next track, Fourth Dimension, is another example of that old Kanye style. That's on Kids See Ghost. And this is just like, he took a sample from a Christmas song by Louis Prima. You know, zip, 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 that guy, like an old 40s or 50s song, and like puts it in and then reverses it and makes it the bedrock of another kind of gross sex song. I really wish he would just stick to depression. But it's just great. It's, in a way, it's vintage Kanye. This outrageous production. Where did he find this sample? How did he think to put it together in a hip-hop song? And also has Kid Cudi laughing like a crazy person, which I like. The next track will be Santeria, which is another Pusha T song. I just love the Pusha T album. As you can tell, I bought it. I bought it because it actually came with an autograph by Pusha T. Pusha T is just making some of the best raps out there, and this is just another great song. What's nice is you feel like it's going to stay one place, and then he takes it to another. There's a whole second section to the song, which is quite a very strong section of the song. Then Reborn, which is almost more of a Kid Cudi song than it is a Kanye song, but this is just a really beautiful, sad, moving song about feeling reborn. This theme that Kanye's been playing with of freedom, the faith in oneself, and the fear that one has that they won't be able to make it. In Kanye's verse, he talks about the pain and the stress that he feels of trying to be himself all the time. So that's on Kids See Ghosts. And then that leaves us with the first two tracks he released. And I told you I'd get to Trump, and I'm getting there. Okay, so there's both sides. This is going to have to go on the other side of side B. The track is called Ye versus the People. And it's my belief that if we listen to Ye versus the People, if everybody truly listened to this song, our country would be saved from the situation it's in. This is the best song of the Trump era. This is the only song, I believe, that actually addresses the problems of the Trump era. If a song just talks about what a piece of garbage Trump is, it is doing nothing. It is just as pointless as a song talking about how great Trump is. Our true problem is tribalism. It's not Trump. That's our problem. The problem is not that too many people are watching Hannity and not enough people are watching Rachel Maddow. The problem is that everybody is either watching Hannity or Maddow. These two savage, lunatic idiots who are making money off of our outrage. Sorry. But this is the real problem. You know, I just watched Vice, the new Adam McKay movie with Christian Bale as Dick Cheney. At the very end, the very end, post-credit sequence, there's a whole scene where there's a focus group and they're talking about how they feel like there's a liberal bias. And then one of them starts attacking Hillary, and the other starts attacking Trump, and they start punching each other. That's the state that we're in. Now, Adam McKay is a cineast, and we take him seriously, and that movie is going to win Oscars, and ho, how smart he is. But Kanye's doing this in a much more challenging way on the song Ye versus the People. He is presenting himself as a Trump supporter. He is explaining why he believes in Trump. Not really about his policies, it's more about what Trump represents. More importantly, it's about his belief that as an artist, he has to be able to speak what he believes and not just do what everyone expects him to do. He's constantly trying to challenge people and see how far he can push them. And I think he knew that this is the number one way to challenge people as much as he possibly can. There's no way to challenge people more than this. But the thing that Kanye does that he doesn't get enough credit for is he includes T.I. on the track. And T.I. provides the counterpoint. T.I. is speaking against him. I've never heard a rap song, I've never heard any song ever in which an artist allows somebody else to come on the track and tell them that they're wrong. Tell them that they sound high. Say you have a bad idea and you're making it worse. That what you're doing is, quote, worse than a priest raping a child. Kanye allowed himself to be called worse than a child rapist on his own track. Have someone say, this is stupid and bullheaded even for you. Kanye is allowing this conversation to happen because what Kanye says, and I believe Kanye, is that he is trying to fight hate with love. And the only way to do that is to try to understand both sides, is to approach things from a position of love. I think that's what he's doing. And it's really challenging. When I saw him put on the Make America Great Make America Great Again hat, I got upset. I got upset. I mean, James Brown hung out with Nixon, right? And Eazy-E ate lunch with George Bush. Well, that's very consistent with Eazy-E's worldview. But it was really upsetting to me. But I think that this is our way out. I think if we listen to this song, that's our way out of this mess. If we listen to both sides, and Kanye basically explains, the reason I support Trump is because everyone's telling me that I can't. Everyone's telling me I'm stupid, and I'm an idiot, and I'm a racist, and I hate my people if I support Trump. Everyone's getting cornered. And he's trying to get himself out of the corner. And no one's letting him. They're pushing him further into the corner. And what do you think's happening in our country? Someone says they support Trump, and then they're called a racist and a bigot, and that they hate women, and that they hate Mexicans, and that they hate... No. How are we winning? How are we going to get out of this situation? We can't. We cannot get out of this situation if we're constantly doing that to people we disagree with. So in this song, Kanye says my favorite line about the Trump era that's ever been said. I know everyone's emotional. Just that. I know everyone's emotional. That's where we are. We're all emotional. We're all, 100% of us, either watching Rachel Maddow or Sean Hannity. And we can't believe what they are doing, what the other is doing, what the other tribe is doing. And these vampires are just sucking up all of our money and our clickbaits and our purchases. And they're making so much money off of our anger and our emotion. And it takes a true artist to come out and challenge that and say, if I wear the hat and change what the hat means, maybe I can change something. Maybe I can go into the goddamn White House and help the president to change the prison reform laws. Right? Prison reform. It's only the most important thing in our entire country. It's only more important than 10 border walls. It's only the most important thing. It's the most important thing in our entire country. And he, this year, managed to help push that forward. This crazy guy who said that slavery was a choice and raps about people bleaching their anuses, okay? I get it. He's a fool and a buffoon and an idiot, and he can't be that smart. But he released 5 great albums, and he positively affected change. So, that leaves us with his biggest hit of the year, Lift Yourself. Now, Lift Yourself is the greatest joke that Kanye's ever pulled. It is the quintessential Kanye beat, an old soul sample. The hang-ups we face today, we gotta strive for our liberty. Lift yourself up off the ground, let's get it on. Okay, this beautiful sample. And he plays it out, and you listen to it, and you're like, oh yeah. And then he brings in the drums, and you're like, oh yeah, Kanye's back. It's 2004. Gold digger, yeah, we're back in the old Kanye. And then he gets on his verse. He goes, oh, you're not ready for this verse. This next verse, though, where do you hear these bars? And what does he say? Scoop, scoopity whoop, scoopity scoop scoop, poop, scoop. He says nothing. I've been talking about what an artist is for this entire amazingly long video. And this is what an artist does. He had been told what he can and cannot say. His audience was trying to tell him what to do, how to think, and how to behave. So he gives the audience exactly what he wants. The old Kanye. The Force Awakens. He gave them exactly what they want. And then he poops over the whole thing. Scoopity boop. Scoopity boopity boop boop. Poop. Poop. He made his greatest statement. This is what you want from me. And then he released 5 albums saying, I won't give it to you. I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to stay relevant. Keep going, Kanye. Please. Literally, the world needs you. The world needs great artists. Okay. Well, there should be new music next week, and I won't talk about Kanye. Thank you for letting me get that out of the way. Little girl likes her brain. All right. Until then, there's the camera.